COVID, right? We're going on like 2 years of COVID,
Yeah.
and everybody kind of has a story, or like my life has been kind of crazy. But if you just take like the last year and a half of your life, it's been quite an adventure,
Yeah.
right? So toward the end of 2020, you purchased Privee Vineyard.
hmm
How did that like come about? I mean, we're going to kind of go through the timeline from
Yeah.
then till now, but like how did the purchase of, Privee come about? How did you hear about it? Like what happened there?
Well, we started looking kind of like January, February of 2020.
Right.
By we, I mean my partner Ben and my parents, both Charlie and Melanie, were all four partners in Privee, which is really cool. It's super family oriented. And we were all kind of at a financially responsible space in our lives where we had enough money to kind of do something different and start a business together. And I have a history in the wine world and was, giddy to get back into it and pretty excited. And so we started looking. We had chosen Oregon specifically because both Ben and I love mountains. We love mountain biking, skiing. We moved here from Utah. He's from Wyoming. We knew that it had to be connected to the outdoors somehow. And I had done most of my work in California, loved California wines, really enjoyed the people, but found it kind of not super connected to the outdoors
Right.
in the way that I wanted my life to be. And I'd heard great things about Oregon and had really only been out here one weekend to taste through some wines, and they were great wines. I always knew I wanted to make Pinot Noir since I was pretty young, and so Pinot Noir here and the mountains, I was like, probably a win.
Right.
And so we kind of started putting out some feelers. Weren't really finding anything that kind of spoke to us. A lot of properties that were actively for sale were needed some work, or needed to be planted, or something along those lines, or were really big operations, 5,000 plus cases, which is a lot for one person.
That is a lot, yes.
And so just kind of didn't really work out for us. So we reached out to a couple of people that we had become friends with in the Valley just through the wine world, and said, if you hear of anybody looking to sell or something, give us a shout. We're really interested.
Right.
And so our mutual friends knew Tina and Mark Hammond, who founded Privee Vineyard they founded Privee Vineyard in 2000, but they'd been farming the vineyard here since the early 90s. And so they had been kind of a staple in the area and had been trying to retire for 5 or 6 years, and their kids didn't want to take over. And so they COVID started kind of being around a topic of conversation, late February, early March, and they were like, well, this will probably never happen now, or we're probably in it for the long haul,
Right.
and took it off the market. And so I called Tina up one morning and was living in Park City, Utah, and sitting on my deck looking out at the mountains. And we have such drastically different life stories and such drastic different backgrounds, but very similar philosophies about winemaking. And we just hit it off. She became like a family, like a mom figure to me. And we flew out the next week, my father and I, to look at the property. We were here for 6 hours, and that was the day that the world shut down. It was like March 13th or so.
Oh, wow.
We were like the last flight back into Salt Lake. And we knew right then. I texted her on my drive home, was like, absolutely, let's drop some paperwork and
Wow.
move forward. So that's kind of how we found here. Poor Ben had no idea what he was getting into. He never saw Privee. He has
Right.
no history in the industry, so it's kind of he was awesome. He was like, "Yep, okay, we're moving.
Let's do it."
Yeah. And
Wow.
so we moved out. We moved out here early August, and the rest is kind of history. We've
Wow.
been here ever since.